Hi, it's Lynn Ann, and I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia over 20 years ago. And one of the issues that I've discovered in my journey is that some of the trauma I had in my life contributed to my symptoms. Now, not every single person who has trauma will develop fibromyalgia, and the studies do show that people with fibromyalgia, there is a really high, over 80% of them have had a significant trauma event in their past. Now, what are traumas? Trauma can be from childhood. It can be childhood. It can be from an accident. It can be even a medical trauma like surgery, infections, acute illness that affected the person. It can be for childhood, it can be anything from neglect to sexual abuse to mental abuse to physical abuse. All of those can trigger, be an issue. Grief and loss can do it, especially if people have had several right in a row. That will often trigger things like violence, such as a war or community violence, or if you were in combat or in natural disasters. All of those can be a trauma that affects you, that might be a risk for fibromyalgia. Or if you have fibromyalgia now, that might have been something that you could look at that you might want to resolve to help with your symptoms. Now, often people have PTSD, and definitely in the studies it shows that it is higher in people with fibromyalgia. And the other interesting thing was that often they had a second or third type of traumatic event in their life as well, so one from childhood and then some since then. Now, what does trauma do to your body? Well, it has a number of things that it does to your body. One of them is that it activates the stress response, which means that it increases the cortisol and the adrenaline in the system in your body. Now, the problem is that's meant to happen for one thing, but it seems like it doesn't necessarily, if there's been trauma, it doesn't necessarily get shut off, and it continues, and that gives what you call a prolonged stress response, which unfortunately has lots of different effects on your body, which we will talk about. So the other thing is physical effects. So headaches, a lot of headaches, sleep issues. Often people can't sleep because those nightmares or dreams come back up, or those images come back that were traumatizing them, if they remember them. And not everybody does, but depending on what type of trauma it was. Things like chronic pain, which of course is into the fibromyalgia section. Sleep issues, GI tract like issues, upset stomachs, ulcers, all kinds of things like that become part of the physical symptoms. It also disrupts this nervous system. And what that does is put your body, and this again goes back to your stress response, put your body into a high alert that you're always looking, even though you don't really know that's what's happening. That's what is happening, is your body's on alert to, is it going to happen again? Do I need to protect myself? Or it can have the absolute opposite, that it immobilizes you. You can't do anything. And of course, those things again cause interruption in your body functions, like especially in your GI tract, and some of those your thinking, those kind of things. It does make a big difference in that. So it also disrupts your immune system. It actually lowers your immune system and makes you more susceptible to illnesses and viruses and infections and stuff like that, that you tend to pick up things easier. And again, it goes back to the stress response, because when you're in the high stress response, the other systems aren't working as well, because everything's going towards to be alert, to protect you. So, and also the other thing that it does gives you chronic inflammation, which again, that makes your immune system weaker. Interestingly enough, it also changes your brain function and your the structure of the brain. Like the trauma affects your amygdala, which is where your emotions, where you process emotions. It affects your memory. It affects area, and it affects the prefrontal cortex, which all of those that's a decision making and memory area, and it causes you to have flashbacks, or can, not everybody does, or have memory issues or poor concentration, difficulty with decision making. And of course, all that gives you, you can, and people end up with trauma that hasn't resolved, end up developing health conditions such as like chronic pain, the conditions with chronic pain, GI issues, and cardiovascular issues as well. So what do you do about this? First of all, I'm going to tell you, seek professional help. You probably will need some counseling and help you with releasing those emotions, helping you with processing those emotions, because likely you haven't done that if you still have issues and going back there. And it is a journey, but I'm going to tell you it is worth it, because then things get better and you feel better, and you learn some. And at least in my experience, I learned some coping techniques. I mean, I became not only just with the chronic pain, but also depression, as well as an anxiety, which goes back to the in the nervous condition, the anxiety tension in your muscles. So I would say, yeah, certainly get some professional help, some counseling. And I'm not sure what you have in your area, but whatever you do, like if you can't afford it, you don't have a program for it, most areas do have some mental health resources that are available for people that need it. Cognitive behavior therapy often is part of that. And the other one that's really, this is not something I did. It was it's called EMDR. It's called, it stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Now, I have not done that one. It's been developed since I went for therapy. However, my daughter has used it, and I know I've heard of other people that have used it very successfully, especially in anxiety and trauma. So, now I did the cognitive behavior therapy, and I did find it very helpful. Helps to get your brain you get into a cycle of thinking, and it helps you to break that cycle, and gives you some support techniques for that. Also, getting some support for yourself. Self-care is so important. Sometimes one of my coping strategies was to push, work. So become a workaholic, which is not healthy. Again, it activates all those things that we said about trauma, but it was a way of distracting myself. But it's important to do things like exercise. Now, exercise is really good to help release some of that stress, activate like the cortisol and the adrenaline, helps to release some of that. So that's good for that. Meditation, eating a balanced diet, getting a good sleep. Now, of course, you probably need to process some of this stuff in order to have a good sleep, but doing a progressive relaxation meditation before you go to bed will help to relax the muscles so that you can sleep well. Journaling to express your emotions. Now, one of the techniques that worked really well for me, and you can try this one, is writing out what is upsetting you and then destroying it and letting it go. So that's a let go, and hopefully it helps to release some of the stuff in and let go, but not that you'll ever forget the event or trauma, but if you can think about it without being upset and emotion, then that's good. It becomes like something that happened in your path. It's like a story, not a part of you. Letting it go. Groundings, being out in nature. For me, nature is a wonderful thing. Being out in gardening, getting your bare feet on the ground, listening to the birds, being in the water, that kind of like natural water. helps with grounding and taking away some of that stress response. Doing some other things like alternative that would be considered alternative therapies like yoga, Tai Chi, mindfulness. Those are all really good. I found essential oils very good for me. I used stress away one, which is takes your stress away. And it has in it, it's a blend, and I'll put the link down in below. It has cobaiba, lime, vanilla, acacia, lavender. And lavender is really, really good for helping with decreasing mental rigidity and calming the nervous system. It helps with the tension, the nervous system tension. It also, by the way, helps with balancing, which is good, as well as if you have headaches or muscles pain, it helps with that. So, and cedarwood that's in it is really good for relaxing. And if you just have cedarwood by itself, it's good to use at night to help with sleep. It will calm your body down so that you can sleep well. So this is one that stress away I really use. It's got because it has lime in it, which is a very uplifting oil. It helps with it's a citrusy tropical smell, so it's good for diffusing. I just like to put it on, and I do still find driving a little bit, especially in heavy traffic, to be a bit of a stressor for me, an anxiety thing. I now will put some on when I'm driving. You can just put it drop in a cotton ball and stick it in the diffuse in your vent, and that will help. I also, if I know that I'm going to be going into a situation where it will be stressful, I like to put someone on because it just smells like a perfume. So I do enjoy that. The other one I really like is Peace and Calming. It is has ylang-ylang orange and tangerine in it, patchouli in it, and it's what it says. It's peace and calming, and I find this one really good at night for me. I mean, you do a little experiment what works for you. I find it really works well for me at night to calm those racing thoughts, because it seems like I can distract myself. I don't need to do it now, but when I was in that state, I could distract myself during the daytime, but the second I laid down in bed, then everything come flooding back and all those memories and all those things come back into my thought and brain, and it was difficult to get to sleep. So then of course you don't get to sleep, then that triggers a whole lot of other things, and and on it goes. So I did find using the Peace and Calming actually before I went to bed was really helpful to calm my thoughts down. So what else can you do? I would say learning some coping strategies, learn ways to help that work for you. Not like different people have different ways that help them to cope. For me, reading was really good. Being out in nature, gardening, swimming help with that. Going for walks. Some people do hobbies, writing, just writing those feelings out. As some people have written books, use their pain to move forward by helping other people. And that's certainly that is an option too. So whatever works for you. Some people knit, the rhythm of knitting or crocheting, the hand movement of that. The studies show that actually helps with the brain balancing. So just a rhythm of that, or sitting on an ocean and watching the rhythm of the waves also are very relaxing. So those are some things that you can do. I just want to say it is a journey. It is worth it. And it doesn't happen overnight. So be kind, self-compassion, be kind to yourself, and be nice, talk nice to yourself. Because I think that was certainly something that I did because of what, things that happen that you feel like it's your fault and you could have done better. And, but be kind to yourself. It is what it is. And you are unique. You are worth it. It is worth the work, and it will make a difference. If you need someone to talk to, want to connect with me, please do that. I'll leave my contact information below as well. And have a good journey, and may it be pleasant.